Yo, what's up? We have another episode of the Press Release Podcast. I'm your host, Pro Bowl wide receiver Allen Robinson, with my co-host, Super Bowl champion Prince Amukamara, and we have a special guest today, Pat Leonard. Appreciate you joining us today.
Thanks for having me, Allen. Prince, great to be here. Great to talk some NFL. A lot of stuff happening. I like being here during the middle of the season, during the trade deadline. There's just so much to talk about. A lot more teams, honestly, in the mix than I expected to be this year.
Same. I mean, it was a lot of trades today, and we're gonna get to that. But I can just kind of start it with just kind of how me and you got connected. I would say our kind of mutual friend of Benny Fowler, was just kind of our connecting point when I was here in the preseason last year with the Giants, which was a very interesting preseason for me. It's funny because going through that, it was the first time that I had ever.
Interesting. You got cut.
I did. It was the first time I had ever been on the roster bubble, going into making the 53. It was my first time. But again, for myself, I didn't really mind it. I thought if I had got released or something, I would end up somewhere else anyway. I was up here living wise, so it just kind of made sense. It's like, the best way to stay in shape is to be on a roster. Whether that's the 90-man roster, whatever the case may be. I was in training camp, got a chance to get some preseason tape, and then I ultimately ended up in
trying
Detroit.
To flip the story. You used the Giants as a conditioning type surgery.
No, I didn't use the Giants, but at the time, it's like, okay, like I have the Giants, I could maybe wait around and end up signing somewhere, But it's like, I mean, I may as well sign. I'm up here anyway, working out. Right. This is April. I live up here, so I'm in Edgewater training at Veterans Field anyway. So I may as well go up the road. And do the same thing. Right. So, which I stayed in shape, and I'm curious to get your perspective as a person who was watching practice and training camp. Because me and Prince was talking about this the other day, and I always say, I mean, I feel like a lot of training camps that I've had, I feel like those are some of my better training camps. The only one I will say that I didn't feel like I had a really good training camp was Pittsburgh, and I was just coming back off my injury. But the Giants camp, I feel like I had a really good training camp. Yeah. As far as everything that I could have done, I don't think there was anything else that I could have done. And I see Prince making a face over there. I don't think you saw a couple of our practices, no?
Yes, you were cooking.
That's my point. That's my point.
But come on, but you don't do special, because you said you're a fringe guy. You have to do specialty. Were you gunner? Were you doing anything?
No, I wasn't.
Exactly.
I went to Detroit, a team that finished 15-2. I didn't play a down of special teams.
Oh, wow.
I think what I remember about that camp, so like you mentioned, we meet through Benny Fowler, a guy who does things the right way, football-wise, life-wise. And so I know right off the bat, being introduced to you in that way, the vetting process has already happened there. But I also know your reputation as a player at the high level you play at. And when I'm watching on the field, I would say it this way. If the NFL were a meritocracy, you would have made that roster. 100%. But there are a lot of factors at play, younger players who are draft picks that the team wants on the field. Prince is right. Special teams is no doubt a factor at wide receiver. But what struck me about you, again, meeting through Benny, understanding that about you already, but halfway through a training camp, just like halfway through a season, guys dip. It becomes hard to have your body right. It becomes difficult to do that same monotonous, same way, everyday thing. And that's what I thought I saw from you. Like when we went to joint practices, who was it, the Lions?
Yeah. That was the first one, because I feel like right before that practice, or kind of going into that practice or after, that's like around halfway through training camp. I would say just kind of getting towards halfway. That's what I always feel like is the time to kind of put your foot on the gas. You know what I'm saying? Everybody kind of starts out in training camp kind of hot. But I feel like that's the real time to put your foot on the gas, to make it very difficult to, be able to.
They can't ignore you.
Exactly. They can't ignore you. And I say that because the day that I got the phone call in the morning to get released, I was surprised. I mean, granted, I wasn't just fully shocked, but I was a bit surprised based on, the factors of who was on the team, where the roster was, where I felt that I could have contributed to that roster. Because at the same time, you may not have a guy who can play special teams, but as a vet, you can still contribute in many different ways. Right. You know what I'm saying? It may not be special teams, but at the end of the day, when it comes to pushing the group forward, making sure that the boat is going in the right direction rather than backwards, when you have vets on your team, they tend to be able to do that, especially when you have a young group already.
You can't bring boats and Giants receivers in the same.
You can't what?
You can't talk about boats and
Why not?
That's right. The old boat trip going back to Odell and Sterling Shepard after they make the playoffs in 2016. But then after they beat Washington, they all go down and enjoy themselves a little bit as they're getting ready to come back home for their first round.
That was before the
game.
playoff. Yeah, I remember that.
And
down in Miami.
I believe it was, I want to say maybe Trey Songz on the boat with them. And that, talk about going viral. Nothing goes viral like that boat photo. I was on an Amtrak train back from Washington when that landed.
Wow. And and speaking of going back there, I'm glad y'all kind of went back there because you've been a person now who saw a few different regimes when it comes to Giants football. And what do you feel like are some common themes, and what also is one of the regimes that you felt like kind of had it right a little bit? And I said that because I feel like over the past few years or so, the Giants have been trying to get it corrected and get it fixed to be consistent and to be a consistent team.
Yeah, I think their number one problem has been an inability to correctly self-evaluate. Sometimes that means they say, we need a safety. Then they sign the safety. They put a green check mark next to it and say, okay, we're done with that position. It's like, no. You have to nurture your roster. You need depth. You need to make that person then earn the job and not just play them because they got that contract. I think over the years, they've also misevaluated where they were as a team. So in other words, in Joe Schoen and Brian Daboll's first year, they exceed expectations. And Joe Schoen has said this on the record, that he felt they were further along going into the 2023 season than they ended up being. And so they added some pieces and made some.
2023, is that Daniel Jones?
Yes, that's Daniel Jones. That's when they traded for Darren Waller. And they made some decisions like, okay, we're a few pieces away type team, when really it should have been, let's stick with the long-term build and process. For me, the best coach for this team since I've been here, so it's been McAdoo, Pat Shurmur, Judge, and Daboll. I thought Judge was the right coach for them as a CEO.
Okay, as a CEO.
So when he comes in, the marriage of him and Dave Gettleman didn't work. The marriage of him and Jason Garrett as the offensive coordinator didn't work. But Judge had a real sense of what the Giants were looking for, how they needed to turn back into the professional operation and organization.
Yeah, well, he comes from the Patriots, so he has a good background.
Yeah, for sure. But he needed an offensive coordinator that he trusted to just completely delegate that to. And what ended up happening at the end of that was he stopped delegating because he lost trust and faith in a lot of the operation, and he just couldn't handle it all himself. But I felt like that CEO approach, like you look at Brian Daboll, there's been ups and downs with some of the quarterback stuff. He doesn't know how to finish games, manage the clock, manage the team from week to week, take a quarterback out when it's time to protect him. These are things that I think when you're the head coach and your door is always open, you need to be able to have everyone in the organization trust that every decision you make is in the right interest of the team. Ben McAdoo struggled with keeping the locker room together, but was excellent running the offense and getting a lot out of Eli at the end of his career.
Yes.
Pat Shurmur, anyone right now looking at Daniel Jones and saying, where did this come from? When Daniel was a rookie, listen, he got hit a lot and he fumbled a lot, but he put numbers up.
Yeah, he did.
And that was, again, Shurmur, good offensive coach, but his flaw was, I'm going to be everybody's friend in the building, and then when we're on the hot seat, suddenly I'm going to come down with structure and discipline.
Yeah. Which happens a lot. I feel like it happens a lot more so for offensive coaches than defensive coaches. But I also feel like the CEO role for a coach can be tough sometimes, because at the end of the day, putting all your trust into a person as opposed to, again, like I was in Chicago when Coach Nagy first got the job, and he came from Kansas City Chiefs as the offensive guy, as the play caller, and Vic Fangio kind of handled the defense. And I feel like for us, that was the perfect balance. I mean, Vic Fangio ended up going to get a head coaching job with the Denver Broncos, but I feel like what made Coach Nagy so special was his offensive and play calling ability.
Yeah.
And I feel like once he kind of let that up to somebody else, I feel like our team kind of started to disperse a little bit as far as our identity, who we were, what we kind of knew and kind of grew accustomed to running conceptually. I just feel like our identity was all over the place because now our head coach kind of turned into a CEO role a little bit, and now is depending on other coaches because we even had meetings where we're going over things and watching film and talking concepts, and these are certain concepts that we're running now that's not totally in his wheelhouse. Because, I mean, at the end of the day, offensive coordinators and coaches, they have a certain tree that they come from and certain offenses that they kind of lean towards and know a little bit better than others, rather than now you bring in an offensive coordinator who's running a little bit more two tight end sets, more of that style offense, to whereas the CEO type coach now can get away from the understanding the philosophy, because as a CEO coach, you can't you aren't just a guy who knows every single philosophy, if you have to switch coaches or change coaches. So I feel like the CEO role is tough a little bit. And I mean, we even see Coach Sirianni going through that just a little bit on the offensive side of the ball as they go through the offensive coaching changes, where it's like, okay, now as the CEO guy, it's like, how much input do you give to that?
Sometimes it's about, with players and coaches and organizational structure, it's about putting everybody in the right position to succeed, right? If you're a wide receiver whose strength and clear advantage and talent is route running, I'm not signing you to a team to make you a full-time blocker, right? And so to your point, there are some head coaches out there who, like Nagy you mentioned, Sean McVay, these guys who the reason they're in the position they're in is because of their play calling, because Ben Johnson, right? Another good example of there'd be no reason to employ him to not let him run your offense because of how much of an advantage it gives you. And I think, to hit on the Giants a little bit too, it's just they haven't just always been able to figure out who to put in the right positions to enable them to succeed.
Who's they?
They is sometimes
the decision makers, but I'm trying to know, is it merit? Like who's?
It's all the way down. So ownership, an example of that for ownership would be retaining Dave Gettleman and trying to marry him to Joe Judge.
So you're a fan of Dave?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, I'm saying retaining Dave Gettleman when they bring Judge in, they're saying work with our guy.
Yeah, and usually head coaches like.
Yeah, it's kind of like, create some alignment in your organization. So it trickles down. So you have on the ownership level, let's just use that year as an example. The ownership level, you have them marrying their incumbent general manager with a new head coach with a different philosophy rather than creating alignment. And then on the X's and O's side, let's just talk about, let's say Saquon Barkley with the Giants. He didn't get more talented when he got to the Eagles. What the Eagles did is they said, what does Saquon do best? Okay, I think it's get the ball and get downhill to the line of scrimmage at full speed. That would be the best way to unleash him. So what does that mean? That means Mekhi Becton on the offensive line. That means a little bit of a play scheme and game philosophy to make that work, to have those big hitters in the key moments in the second half and just deploying it, right? Yeah. In New York, it was, why can't the play caller figure this out? Why can't this offensive lineman figure it out? Let's just get a new one. Why can't the quarterback do this? It's pointing fingers when it's just right in front of your face. It's take this player or this coach and put them in a spot where their number one talent is what they are giving you.
And funny that you say that because, and this is no shade to Coach Kafka, but I also feel like Daboll, coming from Buffalo, being around Daboll, seeing how enthusiastic he is about the play designs, dialing up the plays, the fluidity of the plays, one would think as far as him being able to call plays that's one of his significant strengths.
Yes.
And not doing that, I feel like, I don't want to say is a hindrance to the team, but again, from being around Daboll, I feel like if he was to call plays, the way that he views the aggressiveness of play calling and just the way he sees the offense, being in a practice where he has called it and he's calling it on the fly off the cuff, I think he rolls. I think he rolls, and I think that's a significant strength of his. Now, at the moment, I don't know who's calling the plays or not, but I mean, I would say being around Coach Daboll, that's one of his. That's a strength of his.
Interesting, yeah, and it's what he's most passionate about. And really, last year he took it over because, and I'm a big believer in this. Like if I were him, if my job were on the line, I would want to fall back on what my number one trait was.
Yeah.
And yeah, exactly. And he got this job because of the play calling and the offense that he ran in Buffalo with Josh Allen. And the one thing that is analogous between the Jackson Dart, Brian Daboll relationship and the Josh Allen, Brian Daboll relationship is the excitement you see from Daboll about the quarterback, and then his reaction to certain plays that they put in that Jackson executes. Yeah. That's the thing to get excited about. But I think the best stretch of Giants football we saw, even though it was very fleeting, it was when Daboll was the head coach in 2022. Kafka was calling the plays at that time, and Martindale was the defensive coordinator, where they would create a plan each week to win that game. So sometimes that meant Martindale all out, zero blitz. Yeah. Sometimes it was like that season, we know Daboll ran the ball way more during that season than he ever wants to. I mean, when he was in Buffalo, they barely ran it at all. It was like a punchline. Devin Singletary never carried the ball. When I remember when they signed him in New York, I was like, oh, they went and got the running back who never runs the ball, But the point of that stretch of that season was just like Bill Belichick when he got praised in New England. It was, hey, yeah, this might be my philosophy, but if we're playing the Colts next week and it requires us to go all zone on defense instead of all man, that's what we're going to do. Yeah. And for a small bit, Daboll, Martindale, Kafka had that going there. And then, the mismanagement of the staff and people trying to take credit and blame kind of ripped it all apart.
Which I feel like happens a lot in the NFL. I mean, I tell everybody that when you get into professional sports, managing egos and different things like that from top to bottom is so many, because everybody is, everybody's role is so significant. Everybody is being paid so much money and different things like that. But to go to the next kind of topic that I have would be, just the overall state of the Giants and the NFC East. And it's very interesting to me because obviously we saw a lot of these, trades, and we spoke relatively recently, Prince and I, on if the Giants would be buyers or sellers at the deadline. And I say how much I feel like that has changed and shifted over the past couple weeks. I mean, are you surprised? And Philly went out over the last 7 days, and they made a few moves to kind of improve their team. Are you surprised by them not at this point in time today, Tuesday, at around it's 2:00, so about 2 more hours or so before the trade deadline hits, that there hasn't been any movement on any deals pertaining to the Giants, whether that's buying or selling?
I'm not surprised because the players who would obviously upgrade them would be expensive, draft pick wise, contract extension wise.
Like who? Give me one.
Jalen Waddle was a name who was coming up a lot from Miami.
Yep.
I thought, first of all, I didn't quite ever understand why the Dolphins would trade him. Didn't make a lot of sense to me, given that Tyreek Hill looks like he's on the way out with that injury. But from a Giants standpoint, first of all, one player most likely is not turning this team this year around.
Right.
Secondly, you have a GM and head coach, and we could talk about how hot their seats are, but you don't necessarily want to give a blessing to a general manager to trade, let's say, a first or second round pick in the middle of a 2-7 season when he might not be your general manager next spring. Now, he might be their general manager next spring. It probably is going to be their general manager, but that's a delicate place to operate from, a place of desperation. So you have to be prudent. And then I think it's a good thing that they've been making those calls anyway. A guy like Rashid Shaheed, who just got traded, would have been an option, I think, at a better.
He went back to Seattle.
He went back to Seattle with Clint Kubiak, who was running some of his plays in New Orleans.
They'll have a really, really deep receiver room now.
Yeah.
Because Horton, he's been playing very well.
Playing well.
Jackson Smith obviously. And Jingba, obviously. You still have Cooper Kupp over there, and now you're adding him to the mix.
Their two tight ends are pretty good, too.
Yeah,
Barner's good.
Yep.
I think it's Arroyo is good.
Yeah, yep.
But that level of receiver made more sense for the Giants. Just somebody who can stretch the field and wouldn't break the bank. On the flip side, I like that they are throwing out smoke signals about guys like Jalen Hyatt, Evan Neal. Can we get something for these players? As we sit here now, nothing has happened with them. if you're going to trade those guys, I don't think the return is coming back enough to warrant just dumping those players.
Right.
So inactivity doesn't surprise me. The unfortunate part of it for the Giants is that 0-3 stretch right off the bat when Russell Wilson was in. It just cut your legs out from under you before it started. The biggest name, I would say, just to finish that, the biggest name who I was looking for at the start of the season to maybe be traded now was Thibodeau. Not because they didn't like him, but because of his contract situation. Next year's the 5th-year option. You draft Abdul Carter 3rd overall. You have Burns signed to about a gazillion-dollar contract for the next several years, and he's playing like it. You also have Dex locked up in the middle. And to that point, Thibodeau had not come to fruition as the number 5 overall pick you drafted him to be. I mean, to the point where even when Aiden Hutchinson just got signed, it's not like everybody said, when's Thibodeau getting signed? Right? He still needs to produce. But also, it's the equation has changed. He has played well this year, despite, I think he only has 2.5 sacks, but he's played well. He's one of the few guys on the team going first to fourth quarter with max effort and production, I think.
Wow. That's significant.
And I believe that if you're talking about team building, the only position group that you look at on the Giants and you say, yes, them,
D-line,
is the D-line.
Yeah.
So do you really rip that up now? What message does that send to your team the second half of the season?
and I feel like they've kind of been, I don't want to say in limbo, but we also talked about how I feel like this conversation looked a little bit different a couple weeks ago after the Philadelphia Eagles game. You know, there was still some hope as far as, okay, where is this thing going to go? Then you go to Denver, which we're going to get to a little bit, but kind of stand on the Philadelphia Eagles. The Eagles seem to be pulling away with the division right now. This will be, I believe, the first time that the NFC East has back-to-back divisional champs since 2004.
Wow.
So, I mean, obviously it's been a very up-and-down division. I mean, it's been an injury-riddled division as well. I mean, obviously we see the Cowboys had a ton of their DBs that were injured early in the year. Jaden Daniels is injured now. Terry McLaurin has been injured all season. Obviously, Malik Neighbors goes out. Cam Scatterbo, he gets injured. So, I mean, it's been a very injury-riddled division. I mean, does that, from a team perspective, and we say that injuries happen all the time, but do you give the Giants, I mean, some grace as far as those injuries kind of taking place and it happening when they did? I mean, obviously, Malik Neighbors gets injured as soon as Jackson Dart comes in the first game that he played, and they end up winning that game as well, beating a 3-0 Chargers at that point in time. So, is there any grace with that as far as some of the injuries that have taken place for them? As far as this, because I feel like this year for the Giants, and Prince, you could also speak to this a little bit, being around the facility and building, that this was kind of the year that they were looking to kind of take a little bit of a leap.
Yes, and I think Malik is special enough that his loss, you know, I know he hasn't done yet in his career what Jamar Chase has done, but that was his comp coming out.
Yeah.
And you see why very quickly.
Yeah.
And you put him in practice against any corner in camp and you don't give him help. The ball is going there and it will be caught.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just a fact. And losing him was unquantifiably bad for their offense and for the prospects of this season.
And which we also, and sorry to cut you off, but even speaking in terms of the deadline, obviously he'll be coming off of an ACL injury. So as far as speaking about, you know, potential guys that you may could have gotten at the trade deadline to be able to add to the mix next year, foreseeing that at some point in time you're going to have to add somebody in that room, whether that's free agency, draft, and obviously free agency, who knows what that could cost you. And in the draft, I mean, depending on where you end up picking at, you know, who will be available to that as well. So, you know, just kind of speaking as far as obviously trade, you don't want to trade away any of your draft capital, but, you know, to rooms like that, you're going to at some point need to add somebody.
But hold on, but like, I mean, you haven't mentioned if you're still wanting to play or not, but I mean, there's Odell's out there. I mean, you guys can smirk, laugh, whatever you want, but okay.
Yeah,
so
I'm
Odell. So like that's something I was thinking the Giants.
Sorry to cut you off.
Yeah.
We just spoke to as far as where they saw their team and roster. He doesn't play special teams.
He doesn't, but he was going to be. I think Odell would have became like he would have became wide receiver 1 or 2.
I say this because again, I mean, which is kind of what confused me a little bit. You know, being on the team, on that roster. You know what I'm saying? Being a player who could make plays and also play alongside a guy like a Malik Neighbors and Darius Slayton.
They didn't see that.
And also they didn't, but that's why I say now being specific to okay, who comes into that room, you know, because again, look at the as far as having an injury like a Malik Neighbors, having him go down.
Right.
Now you don't have a vet in that room.
Maybe Darius.
So now I'm saying, yeah, but now adding guys off of the practice squad. Right. You know what I'm saying? Having guys who are, I guess, predominantly special teams player play more on the field with you now is a circumstance that you get into. And I say that because not to just solely compare that situation to the Detroit Lions situation, but I feel like a little bit in Detroit when I got there, we were somewhat protected against that. You know what I'm saying? Right. As far as a team who is being looked to win right now, as far as on the offensive side of the ball, they already know, okay, cool. Jameson Williams got suspended when I was there for two or three games, I believe. I was able to step in and fill in and play more of a role over those weeks. Khalif Raymond got injured. I want to say he missed maybe 4 to 6 weeks. Same. Me and Tim Patrick was able to come in and kind of play that role to whereas we didn't lose a lot. You know, we didn't lose a lot. We had experienced guys who could come in and play right away in a situation where we needed to win. And when you don't have that, when you're trying to be more cookie cutter-esque to whereas, okay, we have 3 receivers for this, we have, you know, a couple special teams guy, and then you have one of those guys go down, now you're kind of scrambling.
Did you guys think that they should have gone out for a guy like Waddle?
No, I don't, because like you said, it's not gonna change. It's not gonna change anything.
Well, I'll say depending on what the asking price was, because again, at the end of the day, if it's a guy that you're going out that you're gonna, like I said before, in the next 8 months or so, they're gonna add a weapon. Whether that's 100%. The draft and then relatively early in the draft, who knows, that may be second round. I mean, you would say a second round draft pick is pretty good draft capital, or in free agency, you're gonna pay a guy a solid chunk of change if they're going to come in and be an impact player anyway. Right. You know, so looking at it to see how old Jalen Waddle is, obviously he's also a speed guy who can help stretch the field. Now you're not just going to, I mean, because ideally you're not just looking to have him for 1 year. So as you're kind of marrying that up with having Malik Neighbors back, him being able to get some added time with Jackson Dart, I don't think that would have been a terrible move.
Well, to your point, you give the Giants some grace with Scadaboo and Neighbors going down, but there's this assumption they're both going to be back in 26 and this train's going to keep rolling. We don't know that. We don't know when Malik is going to come back to full strength, when Scadaboo is going to get there, and as far as adding a weapon, listen, there's plenty of rookie receivers who have been drafted and hit the ground running immediately in the NFL, right? But there is an argument for, and like I said, I don't think the Giants should be giving up the moon for this, but a known commodity on your roster, like jumping the market on a known commodity, so you're going into 2026 with a little bit more of certainty and security rather than
depending on a rookie
hoping for something.
Exactly, because the price is, like I said before, the price is going to be high, whether that's free agency or the draft. Depending on what type of player you're going to bring in, and asking for a rookie to come in and play right away can be tough. And
let me say one thing about, you mentioned the Eagles, and we were talking back and forth about like your impact and why. So you got cut, but there were certain things that the Giants needed at the time, and you were mentioning the Eagles kind of pulling away, and it just crossed my mind. This is actually something I was thinking about a few days ago preparing for this. When the Eagles just signed Brandon Graham. Now, these are two different teams, but when they just signed Brandon Graham, bring him out of retirement, yes, they had a need at edge. As you saw, they traded for Jalen Phillips from Miami, so they had the need at the position. But that was also a locker room signing.
Yeah.
It was probably more a locker room signing, especially because of A.J. Brown and all these things going on. When you were released, first of all, as I said, merit-based, how you were playing, didn't think it was warranted. But the other thing is when you have a young team, as a lot of teams are, veteran voices, you alluded to this earlier, but veteran voices are so important. And I think a thing the Giants have struggled with, but the Eagles have been better with is if we have a leadership void, let's keep a voice or let's add a voice here to give the team a little bit more perspective and also give them a better opportunity or ability to respond to adversity. Jalen Hyatt, a guy whose career went like this, spiked really quickly early, and then he's really just tried to get back on track, and it just hasn't happened. To me, an extra year with A-Rob in the locker next to him, he would be better off as a player in the NFL than without him next to him. Right. Now, not that the Giants don't have any players like that. That's not what I'm saying. No, but last season particularly, there was a void there in that locker room, and I think that is something NFL-wide that some teams miss.
And again, I was killing P. I was killing
I agree. I saw the lines.
Choice routes, corner posts, slot fades, RPO fades.
I agree.
I was killing
And that's why
P.
Detroit saw that. They remember what you did to them at the training camp. And
again, to be able to – because for me, instantly I went from two different situations. But like he's saying, like when you're talking about when you see us and how our receiver room was with – because my locker was next to Jameson Williams. So as he's going through what he went through last year, being able to talk to him, in different ways and different senses, and St. Brown being able to come to me just for whatever kind of advice that may be, to just overall communication with our receiver groups, or as far as like, hey, like, this is going on, this happened, like, what do you think as a collective we should do? Like, and when you have those people come from those veteran situations and they're able to kind of relate to that, I think that goes a long way, and when you have those and that presence in a locker room, like you said before, it was literally in Detroit, man, like I've never seen before. It was one band, one sound. And that's because you had the young guys.
You know what that reference is from?
I do not.
Drumline.
Drumline. You had the young guys on board.
There was cohesiveness.
You had the young guys on board, but you also had the vets as well.
But that started from the top. Started from Coach Campbell. I mean,
and it starts from a culture that you build.
Yeah.
And because I think the biggest thing is each and every offseason, each and every year, there are going to be players that are going to be added on. Right. But what are they contributing to the collective? Are they adding to the collective, or are they taking away from the collective? And that's not just on the field. Yeah. That's in the locker room as well. And young players have a sense of, dang, I'm not getting a rock, bro. Like, I'm not getting a rock. I'm trying to get paid. You know what I'm saying? I've been on a young team before when everybody trying to get paid.
Yeah. And you've thought like them too.
Yeah. Sure. So you know what I'm saying? You got somebody who looking over there sideways. They young partner killing, but he like, I'm trying to get the rock, bro. They throw the ball to him every time. You know what I'm saying? And you have that rather than a vet. You understand your ops is gonna come and when they gonna come.
From your guys' experience, how much of building a strong culture and responding to adversity and correcting things is on coaches versus players self-policing?
Yeah. I think it's more on players.
I think it's right down the middle. And I say it's on coaches because the coaches and the front office have to bring in the right people, and also they have to allow that. You know what I'm saying? So the coach can't baby somebody in certain situations and then baby somebody and then want the team to police it. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Because I've also seen that in Jacksonville. You saw that too in Jacksonville. When you got coaches allowing stuff and then players start trying to police it, now it becomes a strong conflict.
Because they're not hearing what you're saying from the
not
coach.
Even that. It's because hold on, how are you going to tell me something player 20 when the head coach is not disciplining?
And they let me do what I want.
Yeah, they let me do what I want. Yeah.
They let me do what I want. So how is player 20, a vet, going to tell me to go out here and
when
practice
the head guy's
or go out here not wear whatever color shorts or not do this when the head man let me do whatever I wanted?
He gave me the keys to the city already.
It was so in Jacksonville with us, it was so crazy. Our coach, after practice and stuff, right where that sofa is, our coach used to be in the locker room just sitting on the sofa chilling. Make sure that nothing is going down or happening because we had such friction with guys who came from other places who were trying to be more of the policing vets. Yeah. But you had the coaches allowing stuff, so it was a constant friction. Yeah.
And and to piggyback what A-Rob said. So my 2011 year, Super Bowl year, we had those vets, and those vets were to be feared, and they were not going to let you F anything up. So we have guys like Brandon Jacobs. I'm just talking about the guys who like instilled fear. So like Ahmad Bradshaw, like Corey Webster, Antrell Roll, like we had Chris Canty. We had guys where they knew where we were headed, and if anybody was going to mess it up, even Deion Grant, if anyone was going to mess it up, they would make sure you got out of there. And they did it to me performance-wise. So I remember wasn't having a good game against it was back then the Redskins. Gosh, I feel like that's a bad word now that I'm saying it. But anyways, with the Redskins, that was their team name. And then I was getting worked. And then Antrell said, "Coach, get him out. You got to get him out. You're killing his confidence." I was on the bench. And then I became a core special teams guy, did all the special teams. And then, but then they made sure that I stayed ready. And then I played some meaningful minutes in the playoffs. And then in the Super Bowl, I found myself starting in the second half. So when you have, like you said, when you have those vets, it's like they make sure, like, hey, you're not going to F it up. And it's all about cancers. Like, I feel like once a cancer becomes big, it starts to spread. It's over. So you gotta put that out.
And again, it's more of a mindset thing. Like even when you go look at some of the young players in Detroit right now, obviously there may be some friction as far as people getting touches and so on and so forth. But when you go look at those young players speak, they're going to tell you it's one ball. It's one ball. And I say that because they've had the culture to see a person like myself step in, a person like Tim Patrick step in, who may have phenomenal practices and stuff like that and not get the rock, but we understand that we here to help contribute to winning. And when you have people, when they see that and when they see everybody's all aboard on that and you start winning, nobody, if Amon-Ra St. Brown is not complaining for the ball, nobody else can complain for the ball.
Exactly.
100%.
If he's the first person lifting and staying after and doing different things like that, he sets the standard. If your best players, which in Detroit they had, are doing everything that they need to do and some, what's everybody else to do? You can't just sit back and look.
And that's what Bill Belichick said. Like, why would you rip Tom? Because if people see me rip Tom and get it to Tom, they're going to be like, whoa, if he's doing that to Tom.
And Tom is taking the coaching and criticism
the right way.
The right way.
Yeah.
To the point where, again, you're talking about, man, last year in Detroit, we used to have, as we kind of had a stretch of 3 games in like 11 days or something like that. We played Sunday, Thursday. It would be times where on Wednesdays we would walk through majority of the day, and then we would go out there with Jared Goff with a script and run through our practice and run through our plays just to get timing and stuff. No coaches, no nothing. Coaches
all player driven.
All player driven. If we need to redo the play, we're gonna redo the play. You know, sometimes we also have to get some high volume sprints in as well to make sure that our numbers are peaking. Guys are doing that.
Yeah. And I mean, again, to go on this is like usually when you have a tight locker room, I think a veteran-led locker room, stuff isn't getting outside the locker room. And we've seen that.
Yep.
We call it dry snitching, but we've seen a lot of that this year.
And a lot of me.
A lot of me. I mean, and I think winning kind of cures all that. When you start losing, that's when it gets kind of heightened. But we saw it with the Eagles. They were winning, but A.J. Brown was still sending, subliminals and stuff. No doubt. But now I don't think we've heard or seen it anymore. And they kind of got that under wrapped. And, I mean, he's been getting his touches. But then if we go down south to South Beach, because
they had a good thing going while they were winning. Once they started losing, they end up trading Jalen Ramsey. It started to become more of a focal point on we really have to now look at Mike McDaniel as a coach and the culture that they have based on everything that's going on off the field as well. Obviously, the product isn't what it should be on the field, but also off the field, like you were saying.
Well, and also going like when I mentioned Pat Shurmur earlier with the Giants, you cannot, from what I've been able to figure out covering the NFL now, I think this 11th season, you can't be loose with the players and the team and then suddenly when the pressure's on, act like, hey, it's time for discipline and structure and there's going to be accountability now. you can't put it back in the box. And so that's what McDaniel's dealing with right now is he had, again, play calling's his strength, but then how he ran the team.
And Tua snitched on everybody and said people wouldn't be coming to meetings, people would be late to meetings. Yeah. So Tua really let the cat out the bag as far as what was really going on, and like you said before, when you have that happen, at that point, everything is, the cat's out the bag.
Yeah. And Lamar did it different. And Lamar, I told him, what do you say? He took the ping pong.
Well, they asked him because it surfaced that they were removing the ping pong tables. I don't know if they had hoops or video games or whatever they had, but it ended up coming out that they were getting rid of those things. And they asked Lamar, like, whose idea was it? And he said it was his then.
Well, actually what happened was the report came out that they took him out. Then one of his teammates said it was Lamar. I think was it Humphrey maybe?
Wow.
And so there were some people like, whoa, like why is this getting out of the locker room like this? But to your point, regardless of how Lamar felt about that being aired, he handled it.
Yeah, he said
the right way.
And who did that? Was it a coach or was it a player?
Yeah, it was a player.
But I'm saying as far as Lamar being able to say, okay, I feel that this is whatever. It's time for everybody to lock in. All the fun and games is out. He said it in his interview as well. He said maybe next spring or something it might be back, depending on how the year goes. But he was like, right now it's time for everybody to lock in. But I wanna get some of your opinions on who's your favorite to come out of the NFC this year. And I say that because it's been a lot of parity, especially in the NFC this year. I mean, you see the Philadelphia Eagles lose to the Broncos and the Giants. We just saw the Detroit Lions lose to Minnesota Vikings. We just saw the Green Bay Packers lose to the Carolina Panthers. So it's been a ton of parity, particularly in the NFC. If you had to give us a couple teams, 2 to 3 teams, who would be some of your favorites to potentially come out of the NFC?
If it's not the Eagles are atop the NFC right now. We know reigning Super Bowl champions, all of that, they can do it. Outside of the Eagles, the Rams are the team that I look at and say, if they stay healthy, nobody wants to play them in the playoffs. They nearly did it last year, getting there, right?
Especially if they get home field advantage, because you got to go to that dome, and Stafford's going to have. Last year, the Eagles lucked up a little bit, with obviously them being a pass-centric team a little bit, right. Having to play in the elements, Eagles being able to control the ground game, going to a dome, I think benefits, the better quarterback anyway, the better passing quarterback, I should say.
Right. And the one thing getting in their way is the Seahawks in their division look really good. I'm not saying they're coming out of the NFC. I'm saying right now, as we sit here, they lead the division, and so they could be blocking.
And I think they're a scary team.
But you guys are talking about these teams before. Well, you guys are talking about them before you talk about the Niners. We're talking about the Niners. So you don't think the Niners are? Well, they play this week, right?
He went Rams and Niners.
Rams and Niners, their 2 best players.
He went in order. He went in order of the division.
Warner and Bosa.
Yeah, but they've still been successful. So you don't hold on. So you don't think?
I don't think they're working with.
You think it goes defense. Rams, Seahawks, then Niners?
I would just say definitively, I like the Rams up top. That's what I would say.
Gotcha. But you brought the Seahawks, who would challenge them before you brought up the Niners.
And the Seahawks just added a receiver to the mix.
They're earning it.
I think. I know you didn't ask me. I think Niners win the NFC.
Really?
West. Come on, dude. They're playing.
Listen, I think it's going to come down to the Rams Seahawks, and I have to give it a couple more weeks to see who I feel like is going to edge that up, because I'm going to tell you where I think the Seahawks are really scary at that nobody's giving them credit for, but their D-line.
Leonard Williams.
Man, Leonard is playing. This might be the best that he's played. And Leonard has been a really good player for some time.
Yeah, he is.
But the way that Leonard is playing, Leonard played at a Pro Bowl level last year. He's playing at a Pro Bowl level this year. And their overall defensive front and how they've been able to dominate games, it's been pretty impressive.
The fact that you guys are saying this, I can't wait to hear your top 5. Are we asking him his top 5? I can't wait to hear his top 5. Matter of fact, just give us your top 5 in the league right now.
Teams
in the league, top 5.
Top 5 teams.
No, it doesn't have to be order.
Okay. The Eagles are definitely one of them. I still think the Chiefs are one of them.
Okay.
I would throw the Rams into that. I would put the. Let's see, who am I forgetting?
There's Indy. There's Pittsburgh.
Buffalo.
I don't love the Bills' defense.
There's Patriots.
Patriots have earned it right now, I think,
Indy's
but I
not
wouldn't
in
put
there?
them in top 5. Indy, I guess, is 4.
Okay.
Who's 5?
You're just talking about the Seahawks, like who?
A healthy Bucks team is maybe 5, but they're not healthy.
I was gonna say.
Hold on. I just want because there's one that we argued about.
I was gonna ask him that.
I want to see who's his 5th before we bring in.
We're so salty that I like the Seahawks.
Well, over the Niners because we were just talking about them. Well, I want to know who's your 5th.
I think I said, who did I just say? I said the Colts were my 4th, and the 5th I said a healthy Bucks team.
Healthy Bucks team. Okay. Ask him.
You were in Denver with the Giants.
Interesting.
Giants, Broncos, and I said that because I was asking P if he thought that the Denver Broncos were a top 5 team, and actually hold that.
I said they're not.
Hold that as we kind of because I want to ask you, and I think that this is a pretty obvious question. I was going to say obviously you would say that the NFC East this year is worse than it was last year.
No doubt.
Yes.
And I mean that's mainly because and I say that because when you think back last year, obviously the Commanders were rolling. You just seen Jaden Daniels go out. He'll probably be out for the rest of the season, I would imagine.
Probably. I'm sick of it. Sorry, but I'm sick. I'm not trying to troll.
You're sick of the injuries.
I'm just sick of the injury cloud. Yes, exactly. Because those same teams, if you ever since I've been in the league, I've always said, if you show me a struggling team, and I'll show you a struggling quarterback. And so the teams that are struggling, the quarterbacks aren't doing the best. So, like I said, show me a struggling team, and I'll show you a struggling quarterback. So if you look at the struggling teams, their quarterbacks aren't doing the best. And the Niners could have had that same excuse. Look at them. You said Fred Warner went out. They haven't skipped a beat. But now
Against the Giants.
I mean,
Against the Giants.
respectfully, I believe the Niners are 5-3.
I don't think their defense having a good game against the Giants means that they're gonna.
Yeah, but they've beaten great teams without
I
Fred
agree,
Warner.
but I mean they also are 5-3. They're 3rd in the division.
I'm just saying these teams who have struggling quarterbacks, they could or have quarterbacks that are injured, they could have gotten
Totally
a Mac
fair.
Jones.
I agree.
They could have gotten a Jameis, a Joe Flacco. I mean, there's people out there.
I agree.
No, I agree. Not an excuse. And I think to your point, you mentioned the reason the NFC East went from good to really good last year is because Washington had been bad forever and suddenly was actually one of the better teams in the NFC. There's another example of a team that even though they got better, they misjudged how good they were coming into this year. Like adding Debo, adding Tunsil. Listen, adding players is good. But I could tell you, like they didn't react properly to getting their doors blown off by the Eagles. They were thinking we got to the NFC Championship game. Not we didn't belong on the field with the other team in the NFC Championship game. I think they should have stayed the course to next year. But obviously this league now, the cycle is so fast.
So fast.
Expectations are so high.
Yeah.
Especially once you create higher expectations.
Billionaire owners don't care about paying coaches 3 years to not work for them to just hire the next coach or whatever. But yeah, in the NFC East right now, it's funny. We didn't talk about like sleepers or teams like that yet, but before the Cowboys lost to the Cardinals yesterday, I thought they probably are going to get DeMarvion Overshawn back at linebacker, who is a dude, and figuring they might add a piece at the deadline like they did with Logan Wilson. And because they score 30 points a game, I thought that was a team in the NFC that if they just stayed afloat here, I thought they were going to charge and take somebody's spot in the playoffs.
The Cowboys?
Yeah. But
it wasn't going to – yeah.
But after losing to the Cardinals there, obviously I was wrong.
Well, it's the defense. You can't –
Yeah.
Our goal as a defense, if you keep a team – we want to keep a team 17 points or less because the stats show if you do that, your chances of winning are high. They're not – They haven't been able to do that.
And on the flip side of that, we spoke a little bit earlier, Jacoby Brissett, who's took the Packers to the wire. They end up losing, but they just beat the Cowboys. So I mean, you just talked about injury riddled teams and show me a struggling team, I'll show you a struggling quarterback. but Jacoby Brissett has seemed to have the offense clicking a little bit more from what people say. I haven't kept up with Arizona a ton. I mean, I've watched some of the games. Like I watched the game where they played against the Packers. I watched the entire game, and he did. I mean, he competed his tail off, and they were in the mix within that game until the last second kick. But that's another quarterback kind of conversation between Jacoby Brissett and Kyler Murray, and just as far as do you sit Brissett? And I don't know the status of Kyler Murray and his health, but based on where Arizona is going, obviously they aren't going to win the division. But as far as Trey McBride, the tight end, you want to continue to keep him going. You want to continue to get Marvin Harrison Jr. the ball. I mean, we've seen Marvin Harrison Sr. said he can't even watch their offense. That's how bad it's been in weeks past.
What do you think of that release on Deron Blair?
That was nasty.
We were talking about it.
Yeah, we were actually together watching that, man. That was
as a DB. I mean,
where did he go wrong? We can start there. Where do you feel like Deron Blair went wrong?
Well, I think the ball's on the 2 or 3. I mean, you have the fade and you have the slant.
You would be in off coverage.
Yeah, I would be in off coverage. I would rather give up a slant than give up the fade just from an embarrassment type. Like it's better. This
man will do anything in his power to not get mossed on a fade.
Yeah.
Like he'll guard Tyreek Hill before he guard a person who will go up top on him.
There's 2 ways though. There's 2 ways. I played with a guy by the name of Adrian Amos, one of the smartest safeties I've ever played with. Mm-hmm. Adrian would tell me, Prince, I'm gonna show slant help, but I ain't gonna show that long because either like I got to blitz, I got to go, or I got to get to my assignment. But I'm gonna show inside help, and just that. Just him being there, that could scare the quarterback off, or the quarterback could think to go somewhere else. So I would ask him to kind of do something like that.
Play action.
Huh?
Play action. That's what gave the receiver the amount of
time
time
to what's it called? Right.
To be able to set up the slant, to run the slant, because you get the play action. If that slant help was there prior to, once Dak picks up and you know what I'm saying, once he shows the fake and looks back, that safety has to respond to the run because he's in a run fit. So I'm saying that because once you change that to be play action, everything else kind of go out the window. And also, I'm not gonna lie, when you're in that coverage and you allow the offense and receiver to have that much time to do that, I mean that's a tough guard. Yeah. That's a tough ask.
And you can't really react. I mean, you have to kind of honor every move because every move is
any kind of loyalty in the sleep.
It's important.
Did you ever get mossed?
It depends how we're defining mossed. I will say this. Not a real moss where the ball is up here and the guy's looking at me and I'm reaching. However,
he got moss when it didn't count.
That wasn't a moss. He's talking about the DeAndre Hopkins catch.
What you call that? What you call that?
That's not a moss. That's me going for the ball, and this man did go gadget arms and caught the ball. But
he needs the freeze frame.
Jets versus Giants 2015, me versus Brandon Marshall. And game's on the line. Fitzpatrick's at quarterback, and he just throws it up there. And to a 6'8", Brandon Marshall 6'8",
no,
to a 6'8".
Brandon Marshall not 6'8".
It doesn't matter. He felt like it.
It's like Victor
He felt like it. And he caught over me. I always say that's what got me shipped out of New York.
Really? That one
yeah,
play?
100%. But obviously it didn't. There was more stuff. But
and where'd you go after that?
Marshall's beast.
Jacksonville.
You went to junior college.
Yeah.
Shout out to Jacksonville.
I say public
man.
school. Jacksonville was public school. The Giants was private school. But yeah, that's it. And it's just you don't ever want, like, that's a poster. It's like getting dunked on. You don't want that picture out there. But
understood.
But the question he asked,
better than being flipped on your head like Bland.
Yes, exactly. But I don't want this question to sound like it's rhetorical. Jacoby Brissett.
Oh. Yeah.
K1. If K1 is healthy next week, who are you starting? And give me GM answer and then give me GM answer. You're the GM.
GM answer, is GM answer may lean more to K1, Kyler Murray.
Gotcha. But just Pat reporting on it.
Or if I'm Jonathan Gannon,
yeah.
I think it has to be Jacoby. I don't even think it's a thought.
Wow.
Because
and what message does that send to K1? He's not going to be there next year if you do that. Correct. I'm healthy and I'm not playing.
Correct.
Yeah, you're telling me? Okay.
That is what you're telling him.
And not only that, you're not dressing him because I learned this from the RG3 era at the Commanders. You can't risk him getting hurt.
Yeah. Right.
Because you don't know. I don't know what injury guarantees.
Exactly.
Exactly.
That's why I said I think from a GM standpoint, depending on contractually what's going on, like you said before, it might be a situation where you don't want him to get hurt. So right now, I mean, you kind of look at your season a little bit to be somewhat of a wash. You got Seattle Seahawks and the Rams, I believe, are sitting at 6-2. I believe. So that's also a factor rather than just the overall who's the better player. I mean, Jacoby Brissett is playing very well right now.
From an X's and O's standpoint, you guys have forgotten more football than I know, but what I do know about the quarterback position is Jacoby Brissett, when his back foot hits, the ball comes out.
Yeah.
And like Dak and Dallas.
And we love that at receiver.
Like Dak and Dallas, people give Dak such a hard time. When his back foot hits, the ball's out.
Yeah.
And what you see with Arizona, I think, is Kyler frequently, either because he can't see over the line or because he doesn't trust something or because he wants to use his legs because that's his biggest weapon, often does not just drop back, make the read, and make the throw. And I think he overcomplicates their offense. And what I see when I see Arizona, and I remember when Gannon was a rookie head coach there, we went there, the Giants went there. One thing I've noticed about their team is whether they're mismanaging something or losing or winning, the team plays really hard for them.
Yeah, they do, especially on defense. And they have they run like this weird 3-3-5 where, this is no joke, Buddha is kind of like a linebacker, but it's another safety in there, and they kind of like, it's hard to tell who's the down safety. So he might start down, Buddha might be a little bit further back, but Buddha has a run fit. Immediately when the ball is snapped, he's sprinting in the box, and you almost can't get to him because the other safety is there. It's a very unique defense. When we played them last year in Detroit, it was very hard to tell as far as the safeties that are down, the run fits, and who's the down safety to block in the run fits. And they play hard, man. They play hard.
Also, if you're Arizona's GM right now, from a GM standpoint, even though it feels safer to go back to Kyler, you have Marvin Harrison Jr., who now with Brissett, in that game specifically, I know it was the Cowboys' defense has really struggled, but if Brissett's the answer for getting Harrison Jr. the ball a lot, I don't, what are we talking about?
We talked about it a couple of weeks, man. Bring back the pocket passers. And I'm not talking about the guys who just stay in the pocket. I'm talking about the ones who pass the ball from the pocket. Yeah, it's cool to extend plays and all of that. Obviously, you have your unicorns in the Josh Allens and Patrick Mahomes. But as far as, man, can we get 85% of timing throws? You know what I'm saying? Stuff that's just on time in the pocket,
but then,
and in rhythm.
And that's what
rhythm throws.
And another thing we talked about is a backup quarterback's best friend is the number one receiver. That's the guy who's going to make you look good. Look at Joe, 470 or 420 yards.
470.
470. But even against the Steelers, 18 or 20 targets to
23.
Jamar. That's your best friend. Get these guys the ball. They're going to make you look good. Just give them a chance. They don't care how you throw it. They're going to make you look good. You saw what Carson Wentz, when he was in, he was feeding Justin Jefferson. And you just have to get these guys. And then when you see Mac Jones, he brings in his guy, Kendrick Bourne. He has chemistry with him. Get him.
And
get your guys
it's funny because I always say this. It's funny I always say this.
Back to the Niners.
I know.
It's funny because I always say this. As a receiver, the backup quarterback is always cool with the receivers.
Oh, 100%.
Always. When you be on the sideline, you know what I'm saying? You might be sitting there looking at the iPad or whatnot. Man, the backup quarterback, he can come over. Man, hey, bro, you was open. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna tell. Listen, I'm gonna tell them. Hey, man, they gonna start calling some stuff for you, man. Just be cool, stay in it. That's always the backup quarterback, man. So it's funny because 9 times out of 10, the backup quarterback is always cool, especially with the receivers. Always.
I love it. And
always.
The last thing on Kyler is, last season there were some people in Arizona who were Like there were rumblings in the league that some people there were done with him or close to done with him, and that there could be turnover there. But it was, you talk to sources, it was too early to say, like, the Cardinals are shopping Kyler Murray. Like, it wasn't there. But I think that it was ripe this season for, if this were to happen and he gets replaced by someone playing better for the team, that it means his days there are numbered.
Mm-hmm. If you're K1, what would you do? Like, what would your plan be? What would you do?
My plan if I were Kyler? Well, I think he needs to correct the narrative about who he is. Okay. And I'm not big on focus on the narrative, not the football either. But the fact of the matter is the way he hangs his shoulders when things aren't going well, the fact that at one point the organization felt like they had to have a clause in his contract about
That's real? I thought that was rumors. Is that real?
That was real.
Oh, wow.
About doing your work as the franchise quarterback. This is not the behavior or the reputation of a franchise quarterback that teams can pay big and rely on. So I think he has to take a hard look in the mirror. I think maybe I've been living in New York too.
Yeah,
what was that? It's like another person. I think, well, I'll say it. I mean, I'm not afraid to say it. I said it before we were chatting earlier. If I'm Kyler Murray, like, he was an elite baseball player, go join spring training next spring. Like, if your Cardinals days are over, I think that would be interesting. I think it would be interesting to see him join the, who knows, the Diamondbacks or the Kansas City Royals or something.
Join the Dodgers.
How
Jump
crazy
in.
would that be?
Because we know he's an elite professional athlete. And I think as a quarterback, every year when he's healthy, let's just say usually it's the beginning of the year, his first couple games or one of his first two games
or like record numbers or like something historical.
Video game like.
Yeah, and the defensive players look like they're running in slow motion when they're chasing him and all that. So obviously he can play quarterback at a high level. It's not that. It's just once he gets a little bit banged up or he gets a little bit reticent to take off, and plus, like I said, as a pocket passer, he just struggles. Then he gets relegated to being behind the line, and he's not as effective as a Brissett in that realm.
I mean, also, we're in the day and age of, look at the Daniel Jones of the world, the Sam Darnolds of the world,
backup,
the Mac Jones of the world. Guys who got a little bit change of a scenery, and things changed significantly for them. Baker. So, I mean, we've seen it happen before. It could be just that particular relationship is coming to an end, and he might need a change of scenery. He might need a little bit different of perspective, on his game, and somebody being able to maybe build around him. Because, I mean, obviously, a guy could benefit like that from a very good run game. Obviously, James Conner is a good back. It has been. I believe he's missed some time this year.
Yeah, he's done for the season now. What my question to that would be, I think that's a fair point. My counterpoint would be, and this is no shot to the Cardinals organization, but like if you're going anywhere from Arizona, you're probably going into more of a spotlight than less of one.
No, I would agree.
So I wonder how he would handle. I'm actually, as you were talking, I was racking through the teams in my mind of what would be like a softer landing for him to fit in well. I don't know.
Could be Indy.
Man, come on, Indy got their guy.
Oh, they're gonna extend.
Yes, they're gonna extend. I mean, I would say there's a very high likelihood of Daniel Jones being in Indy next year on an extension.
Oh, you think
you're talking about
you
as
think
a
Vegas?
backup?
Vegas is a big.
Oh, Vegas. There you go.
I'm saying, do you think that's a big? It's a bigger market, but it's not that big. But it's a bigger market.
Bigger market
than Arizona. Yeah, I was thinking the Jets, but that's huge. Like,
yeah.
Ironically, as I'm looking through, I feel like a lot of teams,
Miami,
Pittsburgh, after A-Rod. And I say that because as I'm looking through this
Miami makes
list
sense.
of teams, but I feel like, I'm saying, Miami, and I could see Miami, but I feel like Tua, Kyler Murray, the same but different.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like smaller quarterbacks, in kind of a system where I would say you need to be able to see a little bit more thrown across the middle. Coach McDaniels throws a lot of overs in the play action game, that you kind of have to see. But as I'm looking through here, I mean, there's not a ton of spots as far as teams that don't have their guy. You know, I'm rolling through right now looking at Baltimore. Obviously, they have their guy. Cincinnati, they have their guy. Cleveland, who knows? I don't even think their guy is in the NFL right now.
Really?
Who their guy is going to be. Pittsburgh, they have A-Rod. You know, I think A-Rod is going to play another year. So, I mean, I don't think Kyler Murray – I feel like he would want to be a starter next year. Houston, C.J. Stroud, Indianapolis –
Tennessee has one.
Daniel Jones, Jacksonville, Tennessee, Buffalo. Again, Miami, we kind of said that that's a little bit, you know, of a, I don't want to say lateral, but the same, but different. You got New England. They have their guy.
NFC West is out of there. Yeah.
You know who's going to need a quarterback maybe next year is the Rams.
Ooh. You think this is Stafford's last year?
Could be.
Yeah.
Could be, depending on how it goes. He's definitely a –
Yeah,
he's at the status now where he like looks around every offseason and says, yeah.
But
right?
but I'll say this. I think the way that this year is going, he's playing too well. I think for Stafford
So was Brady. Brady had 5,000 yards his last year.
Yeah, but
What do you mean?
yeah, but again, I mean,
You're right. But then he was. Hold on. So what are you saying? You're saying because he's playing too well, he's going to keep going?
He'll just keep going.
I think that there will have to be some type of noticeable, and obviously, I want to say Matthew Stafford's maybe, 37, 38 years old?
That sounds right.
Tom Brady was what?
41.
I mean, you know what I'm saying? So that's still a few seasons. And I feel like at that point in time, I don't want to say we saw a little bit of a drop in Brady, but we knew that Brady's days at that point in time was limited. Very similar to LeBron.
Brady had
You
no.
know what I'm saying? Like, Bron is still hooping right now.
Yeah.
But, I mean, we know Bron's days are limited.
Yeah. Brady had no crazy injuries. Stafford, this back keeps acting up.
I'm gonna move on to we got a few more topics left.
Real? Jets acquire Mozzie Smith, a first and a second-round pick from the Cowboys for Quinnen Williams.
I saw his name being thrown around.
Goodness.
That mean that they would have gotten 3 first-round draft
so
picks
Max
today?
Crosby wasn't off, but they just got it. They got a 3 technique from the Packers.
Let's see.
Who was their 3 technique or their nose tackle?
Kenny Clark.
Yeah,
Kenny Clark in the trade with
I mean,
Parsons.
but Quinnen Williams is Quinnen Williams to Cowboys.
Wow.
So Sauce Gardner to the Colts for 2 firsts and A.D. Mitchell.
Sellers.
And Quinnen Williams to the Cowboys for Mozzie Smith.
I mean, it makes sense.
So are they priming it up for Coach Aaron, or is he?
No, they're priming it up for him.
Oh, okay. So he will be there next year.
Yes. I mean, come on, man.
What do you mean?
He didn't have a quarterback this year. Like, come on, man.
He got so much money on this deal, and he's the Parcells blessing.
What was his deal?
It's either 10 or 12 million a year, I believe.
The Jets coach?
I believe so.
There's no way.
That makes sense. I mean, it's New York.
I believe so.
I need a coach.
Double check that.
I'm being serious. I need a coach. No disrespect.
Coaching is too much.
It's
too much time, man. Too much time.
I need a coach in the league.
Coaching
It's
is
not
a lot of time. Yes, it is.
So
bro.
wait, can I get back on the Cowboys bandwagon after this or no? Because I said I said I like
that
them
makes a difference.
I said them.
That makes.
I said I like them as a sleeper before they lost to the
Cowboys,
Cardinals. But now they got Quinn
Cowboys
Williams.
are sitting at
You got to cover in the back.
Cowboys are sitting at 3-5-1.
You got to cover in the back end. It's either the rush is so good you don't need to cover the back end, or the back end is so good you don't really need that much of a rush.
Which is typically
right.
It's typically the rush. You know
That's what I'm saying.
Like, no matter how much coverage you have on the back end, if the ball is not being forced to come out, then it doesn't really matter.
So you now got Quinnen Williams up front. Overshawn's going to come back, be in the middle.
Yep.
Diggs will come back eventually to corner. Bland is in.
I mean, who knows? I saw Minka
Dax
Fitzpatrick
putting up
name
30
being thrown around as well.
That's what I'm saying.
Possible Dallas Cowboy. I saw his name being thrown around as well. Minka Fitzpatrick as a possible Cowboy.
See, now if that happens, I'll jump on the bandwagon.
I'll say this though: you don't think a little too late?
Nah.
We'll have to start looking maybe more so towards next year. But then now you go into the conversation of you got to resign George Pickens. That's not going to be an easy sign.
Yeah,
he going to want to get broke off.
Like what? Like is he going to get more than CD?
No. I don't
All
think
right
so.
then. So it's broke off.
C was paid at the very, 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 very top of the market.
What's broke off? Like 30 a year?
I mean,
he's gonna look to T.
He's gonna be more so. No, I think more than that. He's gonna get more.
T, right?
Yeah, for sure. He's gonna be more so towards the top part of the market.
When CD's not playing, Pickens is just he's the number one.
First,
right?
I mean
It's
George
1A, 1B,
George
yeah.
Pickens is the number one on a lot of other teams.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
So is T. Higgins.
You think T's as good as Pickens? I'm just asking.
And both of them are nice.
I like.
No, they're great. Yeah,
I might be
both
biased.
That's
I
tough.
played with George.
Yeah, that's tough.
I mean, fam, I didn't see George had 200
I like
yards
bigger
and 4
receivers,
catches.
but yeah, this dude. You said what?
I didn't see George Pickens have 200 yards with 4 catches. We played against Cincinnati. 2000. I'm gonna look it up right now. That's the thing. George
he was
Pickens
telling me
is
about him.
George Pickens is a different. I was telling you about him, wasn't I?
Yeah,
George is a
he's
different
good.
breed, man. I was telling
But
you
I
about
like
him.
bigger receivers.
I was saying, was that this spring or last year?
Last year, you were telling me like you said, watch him. You said he's gonna make noise.
George is a different breed.
What
man.
years is from 3?
Say it one more time.
What years is for him? 3 or 4?
This is year
4, I think.
Gosh, he's gonna get paid. Oh my gosh,
Big time. But that is a decision for the Cowboys for sure.
Yeah.
And that's a big decision. Big decision. I mean, because again, that's not, you know what I'm saying? That's a nice chunk of change.
yeah, it is. And Jerry will do it.
You think so?
I think, yeah, and I think Dak. How much does Dak have on his? Dak should still be. I mean, I know he re-upped, but
That's the reason they've been griping about their contracts going back to Parsons is because of how much they paid Dak. That's where that's.
I mean, but they kind of had to though.
Yeah,
They kind of had to.
absolutely. And I'm like I said, I know they haven't gotten it done in the playoffs, and neither has Dak. But I'm a big fan of his.
who?
Dak.
Oh yeah, 100%.
I think he's excellent.
Yeah.
And I think even, you could break down, of course, a lot of their wins over the years and being, let's say, like a 10-win team or 11-win team. A lot of that's been them just dominating the division even when it's been down. But in the NFL, there's a lot of good teams who are supposed to be good who then lose games they're supposed to win. I feel like Dak usually makes sure that the Cowboys don't lose any of the games
That
they're supposed to win.
George, that game that I was speaking of, he had 4 for 195 and 2 touchdowns against Cincy.
I'm going to go back and watch that later. 4 catches.
4 catches for 195. It was like first.
I thought you were exaggerating those numbers.
I want to say first play of the game, he caught a slant and took it 75 for a touch. Like first play of the game. George is a different breed, but I had roller because obviously with the Giants season, I mean, in my opinion, it's been a bit of a roller coaster, shortcomings and thrills. When I say shortcomings, the Dallas Cowboy loss, the Denver Broncos loss, and then the thrills beating the Eagles Thursday night, beating the Chargers, Jackson Dart's first game. It's kind of been a up and down roller coaster of a ride as far as the early part of the season. And I want to segue that into, because we talked about this earlier on our show, is there a perfect time to start a rookie quarterback?
No, I think to your point about the Giants, I thought if they did anything wrong this season at the quarterback position, given the room they had, Dable clearly had confidence in the guy. Just roll him out there in week 1. Like I don't understand why they didn't do that. Now,
What do you mean? Because there's 20 million reasons why they didn't do it. Russell Wilson.
but Dart's a better player right now.
Right now. And so okay, let's think about it first. Let's think about it.
You're talking about the business. Sorry, go ahead.
I'm talking about both, but let's think about it. You honestly think that they saw Dart and Russell and Jameis in practice, and they said, you know what, Dak's better than both of these guys.
Dart?
But Jackson. Jackson's better than both of these guys, but we're gonna roll with Russell. You think they did that? I think.
Can I give my opinion and then I'll let Pat roll?
Yeah.
I think they had their mind made up from the time that they were drafting the rookie that he's not going to start right away.
No matter how good he is.
He started week 3.
Yes, because
was it week 3 or was it week 4? Week 4.
Because to them, Operation Russell Wilson is over.
So in 3 weeks of a season,
they gave him a tight. He was
Come
on
on,
a tight
man.
leash.
My thing is,
He
you're
was on
talking
a
about.
tight leash.
It wasn't like we're talking about halfway through the season.
What you're saying works for my point.
We didn't even complete the first quarter of the season.
If you wanted to go to him so fast, then why didn't you put him in? That goes to my point. And I'm saying the reason they didn't is because after all their evaluation that they did and saw in the offseason and preseason training camp, Russell won the job. I mean, just think about this. Remember, I told you Russell. I said I asked him what time does he get to the stadium, whatever. Russell was on the field at 10 a.m. Nobody else was on the. He was throwing to like the equipment guys or whatever. He's already there. So what I'm saying is, you see Russ's professionalism. You see first in, first out. You see how he breaks down the huddle. He's leadership oozing out of him, along with the plays. I don't know if you were there. You saw the plays. He would throw bombs to neighbors, and he looked great at practice. So what I'm saying is,
you just spoke to why their mind was made up, the professionalism, the vet, and all of that. As far as when he comes in, we're gonna have the veteran as our starter, and who knows if that was promised or whatever the case may be, because a very similar situation happened in Pittsburgh where it was kind of, okay, is Russ being thrown in as a starter because that was promised, or what is the actual situation? And I say that because, again, with not even a quarter of the way through the season, you go to the rook. And I say that because if you draft, and this is my opinion, quarterbacks, whatever position, if you draft a rookie quarterback in the first round, you may as well go through OTAs, the remaining of OTAs when he's drafted, and training camp with him getting the reps, so that he's getting the reps with the ones, he's taking all those reps, he's building the communication, so then you don't have to do that when you go to him week 3 or week 4. And now it's, I don't even want to say growing pains, but obviously he has to learn and develop because he wasn't getting majority of the reps. But we talked about that early in the year when you end up turning to him relatively soon anyway. And it's never been a formula or a method to just draft a quarterback and have him sit. The formula was for teams that drafted a guy who was younger, who already had a guy in place. We've never saw the formula be draft a rookie quarterback, start the bridge quarterback, and then that's going to thrust the guy into whatever.
What do you mean we've never seen that?
We haven't saw that.
When you said it, you said a bridge?
Yes.
Okay.
Jordan Love.
Yeah, I know that's the first person that came
Aaron
to my mind.
Rodgers.
Yeah, I know. The first person that came to my mind.
Tom Brady.
Yeah.
Patrick Mahomes. The quarterbacks that were in front of them were not bridge guys.
Alex Smith He
was the guy there.
Okay.
He took them to the playoffs.
Yeah, okay.
So to just think that we have this formula or this method to sign a veteran quarterback and have him be the bridge until the guy is
semantics. Ready. I don't think Giants saw Russell as a bridge. I think that's what we can. What do you mean?
Do you know what Russell's? Did he sign 2 years?
1 year.
$20 million though.
How that's not a bridge?
Up to 20 million.
It's basically, I think it's 1 for 10 or 1 for 12 and a half.
How is that not a bridge?
Wow. Never mind.
Jameis is the 2-year deal. They signed Jameis. So first of all, the reason they signed Jameis, let's just put him in the right place here. First of all, worst thing they did was not give him a chance, I think, because every time he stepped on the field and threw the ball, he looked like the best of the 3, just from me being at practice every day.
Wow.
In camp. Just in camp.
Yeah.
He was on the team because even though they knew they wanted to draft a quarterback, they didn't know what was going to happen. So they wanted insurance on, okay, if we don't get the guy we want, it's not just Russell, and now what do? We force a pick or whatever. So Jameis was here in case they didn't get Dart. It would be Russ and Jameis. But once they drafted the kid, they just decided it's not going to be Jameis.
And
so never gave him a chance.
And I think once you go to that, it's not going to be Jameis, the entire plan now should shift.
Yes, it should.
In my opinion, as soon as you get, and this is not specific to the Giants, to me, as soon as you get the rookie quarterback in the building and you don't already have your established guy shift gears.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
Like, for me, seeing that I was in Jacksonville, Chad Henne, Blake Bortles. You know what I'm saying? Like, I've seen many different Mitchell Trubisky, Kenny Pickett. You know what I'm saying? And not that, because again, both of those guys, Mitch had some success in Chicago, but my thing is, having that as a formula, just making the same way that I could argue that Kenny Pickett would have had possibly a better career if he had came in and played and had things kind of catered to him off the get-go. It's just the formula of having a bridge quarterback, just to have a bridge quarterback to not start your rookie does not make any sense to me, because they end up being just thrown in the fire anyway off of very limited camp reps, very limited situations. Like, when you start thinking through it, is how many situations do the twos go through, whether that's end of game situations, special situations, or anything like that during training camp? Not that many. The ones take all those reps, end of game reps, sideline prep, must get down situations, all these different situations the ones take, and then you throw a rookie in there to just fend for himself off of little to no reps of specific situations in practice throughout training camp, when you have 4 to 6 weeks to be able to prep for that, to me, does not make any sense.
I also saw, from my vantage point, remember we talked about the leadership void they had in 2024. You know, Saquon's out of there. They lose a lot of different players. McKinney's out of there. Shane and the Giants felt like Russell, obviously they had other ideas, Matthew Stafford, trading up for Cam Ward, things that didn't work out. Their plan was Russell is going to become our North Star. We need a locker room to follow somebody, some direction. So Russell became their solution there. And so that's part of the reason why when they benched Russ in week 4, the locker room went, right? It wasn't because they didn't think Dart was good. It was, well, hold on a second. Like, didn't we just 5 months of like Instagram
He the North
posts?
Star?
Right. Like, we just did 5 months of Instagram posts about how like it's Russ's team, and now what? Now, here's what I would say. Down the stretch of August, so like I said, when Dart in practice and training camp, Prince, like, I've been there at practices when I said, man, this quarterback's outplaying this guy every day. Right. I wasn't walking out of practices saying, man, Jackson's unbelievable during training camp. I wasn't doing that. Once he hit the field in Buffalo, I know it was a preseason game, but once he played that first preseason game, it was like, oh, this is what everybody told me is like when the lights come on, it's going to happen, right?
And too, you know that in practice, guys aren't really getting too close to the quarterback in the pocket. Right. So his ability to extend and different things like that, you don't really get a full glimpse of what that may look like. You know what I'm saying? You get a very small one, but you don't really get a chance to see how he can extend the plays. You know, because again, you know what I'm saying, D ends or outside linebackers run by, just lightly kind of tag off, if that. So you don't see the things that make him really good, that have made him extend plays and creating with his legs and stuff like that. You don't get to see that in a practice setting.
Right. You only see it when he gets put in the situation. And the last thing I was going to say, and this was the most interesting thing and the most confusing part about, in the context of why not just start the kid right away. So once Jackson started looking pretty good in the preseason games, you know, he was taking some first team reps after Russ, and they were going back and forth. It was getting stronger as August went on, that Russ would take a certain amount, and then Dart would go in with the ones, and then, like, we're not allowed to report what happens at practice, like X's and O's wise. We're not allowed to say personnel wise. But I remember there was a day very late in August leading up to week 1 when we saw Jackson go out on the field with the ones in a setting where I feel like either Russ hadn't gone out there yet, or maybe Russ had taken 2 and then Dart took 7, something like that, where everybody looked at each other and we said, it looks like the coach is getting this guy ready for the second that there's that opportunity. And I think the team felt that too. Now, they still went out and tried to win and stayed behind Russ and believed. But the coach himself and how he was deploying them at practice was showing, I believe in this guy. So there was a disconnect between you believe in him this much, but he's kind of hovering over the shoulder of Russell Wilson. Like, I think Russ isn't going to say this, but I think if you gave him truth serum, I would think he would say something along the lines of like, yeah, it looked like I was going to get one thing as far as a runway, and I got another.
And a couple things here to close us out. One, we want to get from you your Super Bowl prediction. If you had to choose right now based on who you think will represent the AFC and the NFC, what two teams do you think it would be? And who do you give the edge to?
I'm going to run it back, Eagles, Chiefs.
That's a safe pick.
I think, like I said, if it's not the Eagles, I like the Rams to be there. The Chiefs, until they are dead.
Why are they there? Like, they're like your safety net. Like, you're just.
Until they're dead and buried, I don't trust the Bills to beat them in the playoffs.
0-2?
Mahomes just finds a way to get it done in January.
When they're out of the playoffs. The thing is, so one thing, I'll connect this. When you mentioned the Niners earlier, like, obviously I don't think as highly of them as you do, but when I was watching them at MetLife Stadium the other day in person, one thing that makes me connect like the Chiefs to the Niners and these teams that are well coached, their defense is so disciplined.
Yes.
Like,
very good tacklers.
All 11 guys on the field do exactly what is asked of them. When let's say a receiver catches a pass but hesitates before he turns upfield, there's 4 guys there. Boom. Like, bang. Like, right there, tackling you 6 yards back, all that stuff. So that's what I liked about the Niners, even being shorthanded. That's, to your point, that's a well-coached team. But the Chiefs, Steve Spagnuolo's Chiefs defense, it's hard to explain to people unless you watch them in person.
He's Spags guy.
Yeah. No, I know you. No, I know you. But I'm saying they just don't beat themselves ever.
Yeah.
Ever. And I mentioned earlier about when the Giants have had a glimmer of hope. What do they look like? Spags and Andy Reid, because once you get in the playoffs, it's just that one day.
Yeah.
Their one game plan for that day against your team is just going to be better than everybody they face.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying this isn't the year they're not going to fall down and trip. I mean, it might be. But do I think the Colts are clearly just going to run away with this? No. Do I think the Patriots, even though they've shown promise, are a team you can't beat in the playoffs? Do I trust them against the Chiefs in a win or go home? No.
What about the Bills? They just beat them.
I don't trust the Bills' defense. Josh Allen is that type of talent. They could do it.
I mean, last year, Chiefs beat the Bills in the playoffs, right?
Yeah.
The Bills can't do it.
What was it? Fourth down. Spags brought the blitz.
Now, you mentioned the Broncos earlier. That was an interesting one to me that you mentioned because here's one thing I'll say about them. I do think Peyton coaches to protect Bo Nix rather than unleash him. That concerns me. But you saw it in the Giant game, even though that was the crazy, opposite end of it. They practice really hard. And if you notice, if you look at their games, like they were playing the Eagles, they were down like 20-3 the whole game. In the fourth quarter, they go like this.
Yeah.
They ascend. They're ready. They're all in shape, and they play their best ball late. And so I think if they're in a close game in the playoffs, they're a team that can catch you and get you on that one day because they're not going to – yeah, exactly. You like that. They're not going to dip in the fourth quarter of a game in January. They're gonna be able to handle that. But, Nick's concerns me.
I feel that. And to close us out here, because you're up here we're in New Jersey right now. You have a good feel of the heartbeat of the team and where they've been in the past. Where do they go? Where do the New York Football Giants go from here?
So as we sit here right now, I think where they're going to go is that they're going to have the same GM next year, but they're going to have a new coach and a new coaching staff. That's just my opinion as we sit here now. I do think ripping it all up would be the right idea. I don't think that is at the moment where they're leaning. Dart is exciting. I like him. The players like him. Scattaboo, obviously, if he gets back healthy, is a dog and exactly the type of player you need on your team.
Yep.
Abdul, even though the sacks aren't there, his pressure rate, how quickly he gets to the quarterback, he's a guy who needs a vet to put his arm around him and put him in a headlock sometimes, for sure. But he's super talented. But I think what they need to do is think about what supports Jackson the most, what supports Jackson Dart's development the best, and they need to make every decision along those lines. But my honest assessment of where they are and how long it's going to take them to get back to where they want to be, Giants fans, a lot of Giants fans, like I do my podcast that you came on, the Talking Ball podcast, and we keep it real, and sometimes it's a little harsh, but unfortunately, I've just been here for basically a decade. I've covered a lot of losing football, and if there's an expert on losing football, it's me. And that's what I see in front of me. I see guys letting up in the fourth quarter on defense. I see even some of the leaders of the team not accepting that responsibility and accountability. And I think there's a glimmer of hope for the future, but I don't think the whole plan as it exists right now will work out.
How many years are we out? You were talking about that. You were saying
playoff. Like, can we get would you say playoffs, winning a division?
How many more years until you see us? You see the Giants.
You a Giants alum?
Winning the division and playing in playoffs postseason.
2027 could be the year, I think.
Wow. Okay.
Like that's relatively soon.
Like, if Malik is healthy and at his top level, if Scadaboo's healthy, if Dart just keeps adding to it, and you draft well in 26 and 27, I don't see why not.
I'll say this. My only pushback to that is I think sometimes people underestimate the changing of the guard a little bit because it's also changing of information and terminology. And I say this all the time, that especially offensively, everybody learns a little bit different and at different paces. And I say that because sometimes when you have skill position or when you have offensive line or quarterback, when they have that change within year one, because I always look at it and say, Jackson Dart went from Ole Miss to the Giants. So that's one, you know what I'm saying? So now he's learning one offense. You know what I'm saying? Like he's going from Ole Miss offense to the Giants. That's two offenses within a year. Yeah. Possibly going from Daboll to a new offense, that's another. And I say that because not just on him, but the guys around him have to be able to learn and accept and take in all that information and change, because when you don't have everybody on the same page, it can be more difficult. Even for me as a person who my rookie year going from Jed Fish to Coach Ole as my second year, we had a very good group who was able to pick it up and take it all in relatively quickly. And we would have learning sessions and different things like that together as receivers, where we'll go to Alan Hearn's house, go to my house, where we draw stuff on the whiteboard, calling out different plays. And as young players, when you're changing coordinators and stuff, you almost have to have that, because if you don't, it can get worse before it gets better, as far as just, it's like learning a different language, And for some guys who spent 2 years in the offense, and now it's like, okay, cool. What was once hard for me, I can do in my sleep now. I know how to get lined up in Daboll's system. I'm not used to having to study so much, being the third or fourth year guy where the offense is depending on me, and I need to learn X, Z, and F, because that benefits me as the player that I am to be able to fully use my ability now. Those are some of the things coming in with the new coordinator that can kind of hinder an offense a little bit.
Hey, the Giants could use a receiver right now, Alan. I'm just saying.
Listen, man, it's a little too late in the year. It's a little too late in the year, man.
You think Odell plays this year?
Well, he had to serve that back suspension, right? It felt to me like he does want to play. Announcing that and serving that when he did tells me.
Is it 6 weeks?
Is he serving it now?
I believe it's in the middle of it. It's got to be close up. I don't think it is up.
Okay.
So he doesn't. So that clock started already. It's not. He gets on the team, and then it starts.
It started. He had to essentially
accept it.
Accept it to serve it.
Okay, got you.
And I think the speculation was he's serving it because there was a team that reached out and talked to him and talked about it. Can you play here? And then it's like, yeah, but I got this thing hanging over me, and the team's like, well, go serve it then.
Oh, wow.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I can see that. Same with JPP. I think JPP, oh, my God, I think JPP wants to play.
I saw that.
Yeah.
JPP wants to play.
Yeah, and I think JPP, he looks great.
Absolute freak.
Yeah, he
still.
is. Yes, yeah, he looks great.
Can you still play, P? Giants need some DBs now. They banged up at DB, too.
They do.
Hey, listen, I said after watching a couple games, and I know I said that was the last one for us to close out, but, seeing all these teams give up so much yardage at the end of the game, allowing teams to score touchdowns, to get kicks to win the game, and so it's happened week after week after week, and I still am confused as to how this continues to happen. But every time I see those happen, I said, bro, you know what I'm saying? P would have made that tackle against the Bears.
That's the worst
he was
thing.
In Cincinnati.
That's the worst thing about being retired and still being in top tier shape.
You in top tier shape?
Yes, good.
According to you?
Yes, and still thinking you could play is because when you watched the games, that's all you're evaluating is corner. Oh could I have so that's what sucks. But I could give you reps, but I know I'd have to play special teams. And that's special teams.
You ain't running.
Exactly.
You ain't running down.
Special teams as a
talking about
30 and 40-yard
sprints. Unless you just built for that your whole career. I tell people all the time, that's another ball game. The same way I tell some receivers in off-season training, they be out there running routes and doing all that. I said, bro, you need to get on that track.
Yeah. You're
going to be playing special teams.
Yeah,
you better get used to running 40 and 50 yards and coming back and doing it again, because I'll be watching them special teams periods, and you can go from one-on-ones or group install straight to special teams. You're going to be covering kicks, covering punts. You better get on the track or you're going to get hurt.
And you can't plan for unchoreographed movements.
Nope.
So A-Rod with the and then he stops. It's like, oh shoot, he stopped, and then he goes, and then he stops. It's like, man, if you're trying to make the play, you have to try to stop when he stops. But if you don't care, then obviously and stopping when he stops, or any top receiver, that's knees, that's ankles, that's glutes, that's hips,
Achilles.
And it's Achilles. I didn't want to say it, but when it's not conditioned, it's like think about it. Three or five of those is just, man. So
tough.
I'm good. I love where I'm at. I'm good.
Listen, I don't know. You thought about it for a second.
I thought about it, but it was.
A-Rob said that. You kind of.
Yeah, but I think I'd only do it for health insurance, so my clock can restart.
You know he got all them kids. He said he ain't trying to pay for all that health insurance.
Yeah.
But, man, we appreciate you coming out with us today, Pat, on the press release. This is, we probably in episode 11 now. I done lost count, man. You know, we're continue to get this thing rolling. So, you know, tap in with us again on social medias. Like, subscribe. If you've got any questions, send them to us. This is the press release. We out.
Do we need a clap?
Appreciate it.
Where do you live, Pat?
Waldwick, up Route 17. It's in Bergen County. It's like right near Ridgewood, Wyckoff.